Hey everybody, welcome to New Zealand's Biggest Gap here, an epic adventure that my partner Laura and I decided to tackle a few years back. The challenge was to do 365 activities all around New Zealand in 365 days. And on this day today, we are starting our journey exploring Blenheim and we're climbing Wither Hills. It's a nice little short walk that I'm sure you will enjoy.
Today we are on the road to Blenheim, which is the hub of the Marlborough region. Just yesterday, we were in Kaikoura, which was known for its wildlife, but we are heading just 2 hours down the road to a place completely different, which is known mostly for its wine. And that's why the whole landscape completely changes to be covered in vineyards and wineries.
As we are driving amongst the beautiful wine fields, we are planning our activity of the day. It's a really short one. We are going to the Wither Hills farm. It's a really short walk and that fits perfectly because today, well, we did mostly driving.
The Wither Hills Farm Park covers 1,100 hectares of walking tracks and mountain biking tracks, and there's actually so many walks to do here. We're really spoilt for choice, but we decide by following the signs that we're going to do the Rotary Lookout because we're suckers for a good view. The walk starts off making its way through exotic forest, which otherwise just means forest that is not native to New Zealand. It's all been planted here for forestry reasons, no doubt, and it makes a pretty interesting and different walk to what's usually available in New Zealand. We see a few plants that we're not really sure what they are, so we take a few photos and continue making our way across the track.
As soon as we start getting a little bit of altitude, and okay, it's not that much altitude, it's a hill, right? The vegetation starts to change tremendously and it starts to look like something unlike anything we've seen in New Zealand so far. It's mostly a massive tussock field with actually a lot of sheep. It's quite interesting how different it looks on the top as it did look at the beginning in the bottom. It's quite interesting to learn that those tussock hills are actually the original state of those hills and have been replanted here by the local school kids. It's very cool. As we are making our way a little bit higher up, we start finding the locals. As I mentioned, there is a lot of sheep in Wither Hills farm and those guys right here have absolutely no care if humans are passing nearby or not. They are about to graze on the track and nothing is going to disturb them. And just as I take the time to say that, they start running away from us. Well, you know, there is no winner right here. Another really interesting fact about Wither Hills farm is that there is 65 hectares of this area which is actually dedicated to mountain biking. It is a mountain biker's paradise because of all those open landscape with tons of hills, down hills, up hills. It's really cool.
The walks around Wither Hills are super easy to follow. There's nice wide open trails and so many signage, so you can sort of be spontaneous and do lots of different walks on the same day. And the higher we're getting on top of Wither Hills, we are seeing some amazing views overlooking the town of Blenheim and the Wairau Plains, which is basically the flat land around Blenheim. About 20 minutes later into the walk, we arrive at the Rotary Lookout, which has this huge shelter and a lot of information panels about the surrounding areas. They're explaining what the history of the area is, including the early Maori history and when the town of Blenheim was established. After snapping plenty of pictures from the top of the Rotary Hill Lookout, it's time for us to make this walk a loop by taking the Gentle Annie track back down toward the car park.
Now you guys heard us say so many times that we are taking the Gentle Annie walk back. It's crazy how many tracks in New Zealand are called the Gentle Annie. I don't know who this Annie was, but I'm betting she was gentle and she's world famous in New Zealand. Now if you do have a little bit more time when arriving in Blenheim and you feel like going on that walk or that kind of walk, you can also head to Mount Vernon, which is exactly in the same area than the Wither Hills Park, and there is a ton of other walk right here, including a track which is much longer. You'll be in for awesome bird views, ton of wildlife, awesome surrounding views of the area. The Blenheim area is a wine country, so the views from the top are always really cool, and you'll get a nice little gentle walk like the one we just did today. It was a great way to start our time in Blenheim, and tomorrow we're heading for a wine tour. So Laura has been taking pictures of those 3 sheep for about a good 10 minutes right now. Alright guys, so I really hope that you enjoyed this video. There is much more to come about the Blenheim area. We have many videos coming in the coming weeks and days actually, with more of us exploring beautiful Blenheim. So some of the questions that we got the first time we published it, well, not too much to be quite honest, but somebody was talking about the risks of fire in the area. So as you can see, all the vegetation on Wither Hills was actually quite dry, quite golden and yellow. So yes, in summer there are some high risks of fire, and so sometimes this hike is closed to both you know, tourists and the locals, just because they want to make sure that they avoid any fire risks. So do be aware of that. If it's an especially dry period of time, you may not be able to climb that little hill. However, if you're lucky to do it, well, you get to experience this entire you know, hike that we just showed you on video. So I hope you get to do that. But you know, if you can't, there's plenty of other things to do in Blenheim. As I mentioned, we're gonna have videos like wine tasting and all that good things. So I'm pretty sure you'll be able to keep yourself busy. Speaking of finding ways to keep yourself busy, make sure to check out NZPocketGuide.com. It's New Zealand's largest travel guide. It's free to use, so if you want to check it out on your own time to plan your trip to New Zealand, well, feel free to do that. It's at NZPocketGuide.com. And if you don't feel like reading too much and you feel like hanging out with Laura and I, well, we are hanging out on YouTube every single Sunday at 8 AM New Zealand time, right here in this studio, where we take all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. So if you feel like doing that, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and click that bell thingy. Yeah, I don't really know how that works, to be honest with you guys, but just get some notification from us and you'll be able to join us during a live session. What we do during the live session is that we look at the live chat and we basically read every comment and go over every questions and topic that is brought up by our audience, in order to help you understand life in New Zealand, plan your trip to New Zealand, and also pick our brains sometimes about things to do or how to plan your itinerary. So make sure to check that out. We're also on Patreon. There's a link in the description of this video as well. If you feel like checking that out, it's a great way to reward all our hard work for less than a cup of coffee, the price of a cup of coffee a month. And you get access to epic perks such as a secret Facebook group where you can literally hang out with Laura and I every day. We check it out every single day, post some content, answer to your questions. It's a ton of fun if you want to join us, you know, and get even more support from us. All right, you stay safe. I see you in the next video. Bye bye.